On a Monday edition of the program, you're up nearly, Bo. The Great Z from the city of brotherly love, a palatial. What are you in, a Four Seasons, a Ritz? What are you at over there?
I mean, we're in
I'm
the
not even
official travel.
What are you
So
guys doing?
we can't give that hotel information away due to the throngs of Browns fans that have descended on the city of brotherly love. You can hear already from the Philly media how excited they are about these joint practices.
They really were.
This is a big deal. This is a big deal. So we can't give. We're at an undisclosed location. Sorry, folks. That's the deal. That's where we are.
That's how I became the one individual from Philadelphia that was quite angry yesterday about the evening practices. I'm the one that had him tossed last year and got in with security and got all the security gear.
Oh, baby.
That was the guy.
That was
That's
the guy.
Hey, does our audience understand? So there was a guy complaining on Twitter. This guy's like a radio guy? Why can I not see
guess
Z?
he's
Where's
a
Z on the
reporter.
stream?
Where
are you?
I'm coming.
I told him I sent a Zoom 10 minutes ago.
What's taking so long?
He just is.
I was standing looking through the other Zoom, so I forgot I had to activate my own.
He's complaining about something that in all fairness, I did not usurp him or do anything to him.
Oh, I was usurped.
Now, are we talking about the kid from Philly or Z now? Who's complaining?
Yeah, keep it straight, Gibbe.
You guys got too many. There's too many gripes. I got too many gripes right now. So, kid from Philly.
This isn't the city of brotherly love if you're not with us, Bo.
Well, that's true. It's true.
Brothers got a hug.
They do.
It is true.
All right, so there was a guy complaining about the practice times. He's a radio guy in Philly, right? Complaining about the practice times.
Yeah, he's a reporter.
Blaming it on the Browns, and the Browns are a second-rate operation, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
blah.
hurtful.
So, very much so. I hardly slept last night because of this.
Yeah, it's tough to get over.
The reality, though, is that the Eagles set the schedule.
We're guests.
You might want to double-check your facts before you just throw out this text, or this tweet, sorry. Eagles joint practices against Cleveland will be Monday and Tuesday at 5 p.m. They really need to stop practicing with the Browns, and then in parentheses, a poorly run franchise, if they are going to insist on practicing at silly times and not in the morning like a real team. Hey, buddy.
It's not a lie if you believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's since been debunked, right? Like, does the tweet still exist, or did he have to delete it?
Oh, no, the tweet still exists. And he got body bagged pretty good.
Yeah. All right,
very good. Mo Pedman was the first one up.
Oh, yeah, Mo Pedman.
Well, if you're defending the honor of Cleveland, there are a few who are more eager to do so than Pedman. Look, I mean, it's a pretty simple one to know. Like when they were here a year ago, it was when we wanted to do it, and now we're over there. It's when they want to do it. So that's a pretty simple fix. So then you got this guy thrown out at some point?
So it was right in the middle of the Watson presser.
Does he know that, Gibby?
Like the first time
I don't think Gibby cares.
I didn't. So there was a check-in.
Yeah.
And I saw the guy, and now he didn't have anything. He didn't have any identification, nothing.
Okay.
So I didn't know he was in the media.
Sure.
I see this guy walk past security, like not the Tenable people or the security company that is out there, like our security people. He walks right up and stands almost on my gear. Like this is Watson's first meeting with the media after the suspension's announced.
Big one.
Like it was a big. Remember, Mr. and Mrs. Haslam talked. It's a big deal. This guy just walks in, and I looked at him. I go, "Who are you?" And he said something. I'm like, "You don't have a badge. Go check in." And he was like,
"Blue hell are you?"
Yeah. And he goes, "I'll do it later." I said, "No, I think you'll do it now."
I think we're going to do it now, Coach.
Yeah. I mean, literally, he almost stepped right on the Comrex. And I was like, what are we doing?
All right. So this is who we're dealing with.
Yeah. So I look at RJ.
Are you worried about retribution today from him to you?
Please. Great. Send me back to the hotel.
I already had a good workout this morning. I got Gibbe.
Already pumped?
Yeah.
You two are quite formidable.
I got Hoff and Zagura.
Yeah.
The Hoff's already over there?
He is en route. He will be at practice, though. He will be there when Gibbe needs him.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, that's a formidable That's a lot of beef from a radio
He'll
crew.
be blocking Gibbe's blind side.
So, anyways,
in another story.
I told the
Something else
crew,
about that, huh?
and they immediately pulled him. And Mr. Frayne came over later on and was like, You did us a big favor today. Greatly appreciate it.
Oh, very good.
And he was back. The guy was back out there.
So what do you have? A quarter zip? What do you have?
I have hats, quarter zips, polos.
From what?
The chief security officer of the Cleveland Browns.
Frayne?
He has security gear, is what he said.
You have security gear? That's what happened?
Yeah. Y'all are every year.
When did this happen?
Every year I get flack from you guys about maybe you're going to get kicked out. Not anymore.
You're
I'm
on
the one
Frayne's
doing
list.
the kicking out.
Nobody's seen him and RJ in the same place at the same time anyway. So
Valid. It's possible
maybe he's
Frayne
like,
thought you were RJ.
I think that's very fair.
Totally true.
It's very, very
RJ,
possible.
great job.
Great job.
Have some more gear.
Thanks for helping. Can I get you a quarter zip and a hoodie?
Yeah.
It's the least I can do. All right, so you guys flew over there yesterday.
Correct.
You haven't really done anything, right? So you're basically just
Also-
hanging out, cocktailing, having some meals.
I took it easy last
Hobnobbing.
night. I needed just like a nice chill night. Just took it easy.
Yeah.
I had to work at the stadium till about 8:30.
Jeez,
air
what were you
conditioning.
doing? Are you constructing it?
They didn't have.
Putting up some drywall?
No one could tell me what booth our radio broadcast is in.
Isn't the same always?
We have a game. That's what I'm like. This shouldn't be difficult.
Like when you go
Yeah.
to Cleveland Browns Stadium, if you're
There's
the
3
visiting
radio
team,
booths.
There's right. You just,
Yeah.
isn't it like labeled?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Browns radio booth, visiting radio booth.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
National
you're telling
radio.
way down. That's the one that's way at the end.
Yeah. National radio's on the other end.
At the link, you're telling me it's not.
No.
No labels.
Nope. No
see
air
that.
conditioning up there. It was rough for a few hours.
What type of heat do you guys dealing with over there yesterday?
Oh man.
It's a hot one. Oh baby.
Not yesterday.
Yeah.
Today.
Today. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like real feel 96.
Oh.
Hot, humid.
So is that why they went at night? I wonder.
I'm guessing. But we
Yeah.
could. I think tonight we're going to beat the storms.
I don't know about tomorrow.
I don't know about tomorrow, but tonight storms around 8 o'clock.
When did August become April except hot?
There's
It
too much
rains
rain.
every day.
I know.
You know,
It's raining back there, isn't it?
it has rained
that's right.
every weekend. The last weekend where we went from Friday to Sunday night with no rain was Father's Day weekend. I saw that the other day.
That's what it feels like.
yes,
If you were to ask
me and-
me,
Yeah.
Me and Miss Kay were just saying this is the least amount of time we've gone to the pool at the club in a summer ever. And I said, because it rains every weekend.
it rains every weekend. Yeah. Yeah. So what are you
Why
going to do?
can't-
Like you're
how
stuck.
about rain on a Tuesday and a first Friday? How about that?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Saturday
No,
and
it's-
Sunday.
No, just poured.
Free.
And of course, it started for us on Friday. That's a nice little delay in the middle of the
Oh, my
festivities on Friday
God.
night,
Oh,
gentlemen.
man. Yep.
One preseason game, and that's what we get. Pretty brutal from that part of it and the delay
Yeah.
part of it.
Not great.
In terms of what we saw, there's a lot going on here. So I guess do we want to start with the glasses half full stuff or get the tough stuff out of the way first?
How are you feeling today, Bo?
Pick
we
your
can
own
go either
adventure.
way. Yeah.
I wanna
I'll let you
leave-
choose.
All right, I think I want to leave this segment feeling good about things.
Okay.
And about so let's tackle the hard stuff first.
Perfect.
I had
I
this
like that.
conversation
Down,
with.
and then let's come back up.
Then we'll come back up. We'll bring it down and then bring it back. I just had this NBC. They start school on Wednesday, and I was talking to him about. He's got like a third period study hall. I'm like, buddy, if you can have the discipline to knock it out right there, it's going to be smooth sailing. If you're Jimmy Jam and the gang, big problems.
Yep.
Big problems. So get
Yep.
the hard stuff out early, and then you can cruise. All right. So this is Jacob Phillips just can't have luck. Just no luck. Just no.
No, he unfortunately last year it was a pec injury. This year it's a pec injury. The other pec coming into this season, he played in 20 of the 50 games in which he was eligible to participate since being drafted. His 4 years with the Browns, and who knows what happens now, but the 4 years of his rookie contract, he will have played 20 out of 67 possible games, and it's just unfortunate. Now, I think that, Jacob was battling, I think, for a roster spot maybe more than people realize in that linebacker room. And I think so then from a decision-making standpoint, it makes things a little bit easier in the sense that now there's one less body in the room. But you just feel so bad for the guy. He works so hard every offseason. He comes back looking like an Adonis every single offseason.
I know.
And then something happens, and he's not able to get, through the season. And it's just – it really bums you out. It goes back to 2 years ago, the joint practices against the Giants is when he injured his elbow. Last year, tears his pec. This year, tears the other pec. It's just it's such a bummer for him. And then our linebacker room, I think we'll see Awak and Tak back this week in these joint practices with the Eagles. Jordan Kunasha continues to play at a high level. JOK, Tony Fields, and then Matthew Adams. And then those two undrafted free agents, boy, keep an eye on them. If we were to somehow keep 7 linebackers, Diabate and Charlie Thomas certainly are making a case for themselves. My guess is, they'll end up on the practice squad. But that room's got some talent. And, boy, you want to turn we'll start with the negative of the injury in that room, the positive. Having big defensive tackles sure makes it easier for Jeremiah Usu-Koromo to fly around.
Yeah, noticeable, right? A little bit
noticeable.
Yeah,
yes.
A little bit different when you have people who get their hands on those offensive linemen and he's free to just run and have the time of his life. It feels like if he can stay healthy that that could be a big year for him, and that was certainly noticeable. One more just downer, and then we'll get to the many, many good things. The last thing we said on Friday's show was just go make a kick. That's it. Go make a kick. Then there's nothing. No one worries about anything. Go make a kick. And Cade didn't, and so it's 0 for 2 in the preseason, and that's the talent is there. We were at training camp practice last week, and he's bombing them from forever. But it's also now we've got a couple of these that have stacked up, Z.
Yeah, and look, a couple of things on this. First, Tony Grossi's been getting a lot of flack for the video of him laughing in the press box. Yeah. I've watched it multiple times. He's kind of laughing out of exasperation. You could tell he wanted him to make the kick. And then he was sad. So the fact that's a story that's going on awful announcing and all that, the context is missing sorely. And I have no problem, as you know, when there are times to challenge some things, I'm happy to do so. This case, not. I think everybody in that building last night, everybody wanted him to make that kick.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted him to make that kick. And it was kind of one of those things where you had some tension around because you knew this was the one potential. Once you'd already seen DeJuan, and he looked good, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
The one thing that could come out of this game that would have people, kind of boo-hooing or getting upset or getting nervous would be if Cade York misses that field goal. He pushes it right, just as he did the 44-yarder in the Hall of Fame game. And so then you wonder, does it become mental? I'll remind people, and the example I use a lot of times is Daniel Carlson. Daniel Carlson was with the Minnesota Vikings. They cut him after a couple of games. Daniel Carlson is one of the best kickers in the league and has been for the Las Vegas Raiders, then Oakland Raiders ever since he joined that franchise. In fact, people remember when we played him on that Monday night that ended up being I don't even know what day we played that game, Monday afternoon game against the Raiders during COVID.
Oh, my God, that's right.
He made a 50-yarder into the dog pound to basically kind of ice our season after Nick Mullins. I mean, it's wild. This is a real comment. Nick Mullins let us down and converted on a 4th down to give us the lead late in that game. So I think that there is you want to have patience. You also want to give him an opportunity to, work it out, get comfortable. You're going to need him in the season. But I think the pressure is ramped up. I heard Tony Rizzo earlier today say, sometimes some people respond to tough love. They respond to, well, you're not doing it, we're going to bring competition in. Sometimes people don't. And I think the Browns, their team doctors, all of that, the people that we have, sports psychologists who work with the players, they understand what is the best for Cade. They're going to give Cade every opportunity to be the guy. Everybody wants him to be the guy. That kind of talent is very rare. But he's got to go do it. And so that was to me the biggest unfortunate outcome of this game was the Cade York miss on the field goal. He did come back and he made an extra point after that, which was good to see. That's still in that 30 to 39 yard range. I think it's like a 33-yarder. I will also say it was hard for me personally. I'm not saying, and nobody was wrong for doing this. I'm not saying that. For him to get kind of like the Bronx cheer when he made the extra point, in our home stadium was like a little tough.
Yeah.
Like, it's second game of the preseason. This guy's in his second year. He's
Yeah.
obviously talented. We all know he is. But at the same time, this is an all-in season. This is, you've got all the talent. You cannot lose a game or two, which
Yep.
could be the difference between winning the division, could be the difference between getting a first-round bye, could be the difference between making the playoffs or not. We can't have those outcomes this season. So at the same time, I understand the urgency and why we need Cade York to be better immediately.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I mean, this is we like running people out. We want to see backup quarterbacks. We like seeing coaches that aren't here. We want to run out general managers and managers of baseball teams and pitcher, everything. It's just part of the thing, right? Like, you just want whatever's next is better than what is. His talent is such. I mean, let's not forget what he did to open the season last year. Like, so that's in him. And so obviously everybody just wants him to make the kick, and then it's nothing. No one ever thinks about it again. And that's the thing about a kicker. Like, you really don't want to ever notice him, especially in the preseason. Like, you don't even want to notice him. Like, just go knock him through the uprights, move it along, let's
Move
go.
on.
Like, that's it. And if had he done that, then there's nothing to be had, and instead there is, because you haven't hit him in back-to-back games. So it is noteworthy that happened. All right, enough of the negative stuff. Let's get to the positives.
Just
Go
one
ahead.
thing real quick to tie
Sure.
it up on Cade York. I think that kickers in general, one of the reasons that fans are so invested in it and so they have those feelings is because there's something human about a kicker. And what I mean by that is many of the people I'm sure in attendance play golf. And many of the people in attendance can go on the driving range and pump it right down the middle and feel good about themselves on the driving range.
Yeah.
But then taking it to the course is sometimes a completely different game. And so what you worry about, I think, as a person who maybe has experienced that, somebody in the crowd, is what's the difference for me? Well, it's something that's mental, or it's something with pressure that I can't handle the pressure. And they don't want to be feeling similar to the way they maybe feel about our kicker. Our kicker is supposed to be automatic, like Justin Tucker. Now, there's only one Justin Tucker. That's the reality of the situation. But there are plenty of kickers who are very, very good. Cade York has the talent to be as good as anybody who's ever kicked a football. But it's going to take, obviously it's part mechanics, it's part feel, it's part quality of the strike, and it's part mental, much like golf. And so I think that there is a part of people who relate to it and like, oh, yeah, that's great. He's making everything in practice. That's great that he's making everything, at the Greenbrier or in these scrimmage situations. He needs to make them in games.
Yeah.
And now the irony is these preseason games are actually just preseason games. They are not regular season games. They don't matter or count for anything. And yet there's more comfort that comes because it's kicked in a stadium, it's kicked in his uniform, all of that in front of a crowd. I just think there's something that's like relatable about that makes people concerned, because that's not, again, like I said, that's not how you want to feel about your kicker. You want to feel about your kicker like this guy has got it. He's going to go out there. He's going to drill it consistently. And that's the key. Cade York, the talent is there. It's immense. It's got to be done consistently.
Yeah, I think what you want from a Browns perspective is, I think what's hard from a fan's perspective is you see Evan McPherson, who's in the division, who was drafted out of a Southeastern Conference school. He and York were the two guys, and McPherson is 85% of his field goals year one, including clutch ones in their postseason run, all the way to the Super Bowl, and then 83% last year. So that's kind of what the thinking is.
And that's not even elite. He was elite down that playoff stretch. I said that's not even elite.
No, I know, but
that's where you want to be.
That's the minimum is this.
Minimum, yes, exactly. Yep.
He's not just a Tucker. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, that's the minimum.
Right.
Is you go hit 83%.
Got to be mid-80s.
Of them. Like,
got to be mid-80s.
Yeah, that's the deal. So that's the thing. So last year, Cade was around 75%.
Yes.
He made all the shorties. He missed 3 from 30 to 39.
He was 75% from 30 to 39, not okay. 75% from 40 to 49. And he was 4 of 7, I want to say, from 50 plus.
Right. Yep,
all three below the league average. All three.
Correct. Yeah. So McPherson, for example, he made them all from 30 to 39. He missed 440 to 49 last year, and he made all of them from 50 or more last year. So that's where that stands on that front.
Did he miss any extra points, McPherson?
Hold, please. He did. Yeah, He missed 4 of them.
Oh,
he was
wow.
40 of 44.
Cade missed 2.
Yeah. As a
there's
rookie,
also-
he was 46 of 48, McPherson was.
I think there's a feeling, too, that you make every kick, and nobody makes every kick except maybe Justin Tucker. I mean, even the great Phil Dawson was here, did not make every kick, and I think that, sometimes we romanticize.
Phil Dawson was one missed kick away from being cut here.
Right. It's it's a hard,
it's a tough business. There's an isolated part of it too, where you're out there by themselves, and they're, I think it's something everybody. I like your golf analogy. Everybody can identify with it. Yeah. All right, from a positives, we finally got to see Deshaun Watson in the offense, 3 for 3 on the drive, showed some mobility, as you knew he would be. I thought he looked great.
I thought he looked very good as well. It was clear that the speed of the game was right in line with what he was expecting. You know what I mean? And that's what you want to see. In terms of the comfort, he was completely prepared for the speed of the game. He looked athletic. He looked strong. Good decisions with the football. Some of it just didn't, there weren't many opportunities to really push the ball down the field. There was maybe one throw he could have made to Chief on a corner route where he took a safer pass. But watching all 22, I agreed with the decisions with the football. I thought that he looked very good running it. I would have loved to have seen us throw the ball at the goal line, and I'm actually curious. I'll ask Coach when I see him next. I think the first down play was a boot out to the right. He ended up running it because Jack Conklin missed a block. And if he was able to kind of sprint out right and hold it, they had a backside slant coming with DPJ that was wide open. The way that everybody was working down the field indicated to me that was actually a pass. It just he had to scramble, and then it was 3 straight runs after that. And I understand trying to, establish something, mental there at the end. I did have one question for you, going back real quick to Cade York.
Yeah.
End of the game, we get the ball back. It's the preseason. We're down 8. I understand that. You want the guys on the field to give them a chance to compete. But there was a part of me that thought for the season, it might have been more valuable to just pull up at the 25 and send Cade out there and be like, hit a 43-yard field goal right now.
I love the idea of that. What if he missed it, though?
Then you kind of
know
that we have have an issue that has to be dealt with.
So, I think that I understand where you're coming from, and that would have solved it.
But if you're that fearful of it, that makes me nervous.
Well, I am. I don't know if Kevin Stefanski is, but I'm that fearful of it.
Or I would have liked to have seen him kick the extra. Just
something to see it go through.
I wanted to because you need to know. Like, to me, it's much more important whether we see more from Cade and we get like you go out there, because you would know he would be feeling immense pressure on that kick, immense. Yeah. So I would like to see him operate in that situation, because if he puts it through, that could be the one that kickstarts everything.
Yeah. Then
if he doesn't, then you know that, hey, maybe we actually do have a bit of a problem here. To me, that getting that little bit of information at the end of the game, it's hard to balance it, because it's unfair to Kellen Mond and the guys out there battling and fighting to not give them a chance to tie the game. But at the same point, for the way that our season is going to go, that is Cade York is significantly more important than whether or not we get a beautiful pass, by the way, from Kellen Mond to Mike Harley for a 20-yard touchdown.
Agree 100%. I think the hard thing for a coach is like the football part of you wants to win games, but then like from an information standpoint, you would be coaching them totally differently. You would get direct information doing what you just said. Like if he missed it, then you'd be like, okay, we got a real problem here, because the margin in this conference is razor thin, and we're going to need most of these kicks need to go in. Like that's where
I just felt like that would be as big of a pressure situation to test.
For sure. You would have manufactured a tremendous amount of pressure. But I think also if he goes out there and misses it, then you'd have to be prepared to move on at that point. Like at that point,
I don't know about that, but you might have to bring somebody in. Right.
But we talked about this last week. I don't know how he would respond to that. It's a delicate thing with the kicker. It's
in
like
my mind,
golfer.
I believe with him that he's going to go out there and kick, but he's got to see it go through. It's like sometimes a shooter is in a slump. They get to the line, getting a free throw to see it go through, that gets you going again.
I agree. No, I see where you're coming from with it. I mean, it's kind of like it's different, but it's kind of like the Rodgers thing. Like, just throw it every down in preseason.
Yes.
Like, get your quarterbacks going. Like, to your point in the red zone. Like, just make everything a throw. Like, we don't need to. Come on, let's go.
It's funny because on that drive, Cade was warming up the whole time, and in fact, when we scored the whole unit came on the field. So maybe at one point they thought they were just going to go kick it and give him another kick, and then he waved them off, and they went for 2, which obviously in the flow of the game makes all the sense in the world. Like, I get it, 100%.
Yeah.
It just would have been a real pressure. That would have been the most real thing that you could have been created in the fourth quarter of a preseason game.
Correct. Yep. Absolutely. What else stood out to you in terms of positives? Offense, defense. We touched on several of them.
Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
Exactly what we would have thought. 1 carry for 18 yards, catches the pass on the first down, just a mismatch waiting to happen. I think he looks great. Hurt his ribs a little bit. We'll find out if he'll practice today. I'm not sure if he's going to practice today. I know that, let me say it, he's fine. I talked to him. He's fine. Will they, out of an abundance of caution, not have him practice today? We'll find out. But it's one of those freak things, man. He just, when he got one of the plays when he got tackled, I think it was the first play of the game, as he got tackled when he went to the ground, he just kind of fell on the ball on his ribs.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Just bad luck on that side of things. DeJuan Jones can play. He's played like every snap.
DeJuan Jones,
Big Thanos is a dude.
Absolutely can play. It's now 74 pass blocking snaps in the preseason, and he's allowed 1 pressure. He has been sensational, and I would add, so has his Ohio State line mate Luke Whippler, who played guard for the first time in his life last week. Didn't give up a pressure. He has not allowed a pressure yet this preseason in 48 pass blocking snaps. Those two both look fantastic. And I thought Tyrone Wheatley making his debut, Tyrone Wheatley Jr., also had an excellent performance at the tackle position. So you got some young guys playing well, but those 2 draft picks out of Ohio State are really, really good. DeJuan Jones has just been sensational. Brian Baldinger cannot stop raving about him. Mitchell Schwartz, former Browns right tackle, talked about, when the guy's that big, you worry that they're going to be punching down. He sinks his hips. He's still punching up at people, and he said his length and strength. And what I thought was great watching the tape, there was a 2-play sequence where one time it didn't end up hurting us, but he kind of got a little bit lost on a stunt.
Yeah.
And then the next time they ran that exact same stunt, he picked it up perfectly.
And he also the one you're talking about is the one where he realizes it after it happened that he did the wrong thing.
Yes.
As the play has happened, he's like, "Oh, I blew that."
Yeah. And he had one run play where he went. It was supposed to be a zone to the right, and he went left, and it did not help the play. But other than that, he was incredible. And in fact, on one of the run plays that somehow only went for 3 yards, he blocked his guy. We got tackled at our 30, which was a 3-yard gain. He was blocking his guy past the 40. He just took somebody on a journey down Cleveland Browns Stadium. He is incredibly impressive.
It's so cool because this is everybody knows that he didn't handle the pre-draft process the best.
Good.
And we've we benefit tremendously, but we've told before about how when he fell and we were able to pounce and get him, there was a pretty direct message hey, there's a reason this happened. This is now on you. Your NFL future is now on you if you want to be a pro or not. And so I'll never forget talking to you when we were down at Greenbrier, and when you guys were down at Greenbrier, and you guys had told me that he came in 20 pounds, dropped 20 pounds, dialed in.
And added muscle.
Yeah, and you went, oh, he got it. Message received.
Yep.
So that's because with him, it's never been talent. Talent is in bunches.
I mean, well, like we say, you can't coach that size. You can't make that size happen. And then, yes.
And that athleticism, Z.
That athleticism, the feet, the bounce. Remember, he was a basketball player. That's what he wanted to be.
Player. Yeah.
And so, he incredibly talented. And he's off to a great start. DTR. I mean, DTR is a dude. And don't take my word for it. Just ask anybody on this football team if DTR is a dude, and they will say emphatically, yes. It's standing room only on the sideline when he's on the field. Everybody's up watching him. Everybody. They know it. 9 to 10 for 102 and a touchdown. On the touchdown, it was a blitz that he identified. Great route by David Bell. That'd be another positive. Saw David Bell show up with a couple of catches, and that touchdown made it cross the face, put it right in there. He's now led 3 touchdown drives of 75 yards. He is an impressive young man. Here's preseason stats right now. 17 of 21 for 184, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 135 rating, and he's rushed for 47 yards and led, as I said, the 3 scoring drives of more than 75 yards. He's been
great.
He's been awesome.
Yeah.
Austin Watkins. I mean, we can go. We'll do offense,
there's
defense. There's more to get into, but yeah, I think big picture, what you saw while your starters were on the field, both sides of the ball, and it wasn't even your full complement. It's different. It's different, especially on that defensive front. It is different.
Yeah, we're going to get you're going to get the real truth, Bootsy, coming up today, coming up tomorrow at 5:00, going against this Philly team. You guys will know. You'll know by Wednesday what it's all about. Couple of the things here right out of the gates I got to get to. We have some roster changes. We have signed safety Nate Meters and running back Jordan Wilkins to the 90-man roster. That's because Jacob Phillips goes on reserve, on the injured reserve, and then we waive Bubba Bolden as well with an injury designation. So those were the two. Yeah, those were the two there. But obviously there is one other thing newsworthy. We have announced this morning that we're moving the August 20th practice to 10:45 a.m. So that's Sunday's practice will now go to 10:45 a.m. Lots to get to. Lots more to get to from this home preseason opener last Friday. We'll have some thoughts on that. In addition to that, we will have get you set for these dual practices with us and the Eagles, the boys over in Philly. That's heavy stuff over there. Coach from the podium as well. We're off and running. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. The Browns preview show tonight at 7 with Ken and Gerard on the University Hospital's Cleveland Browns radio network. Listen in for complete coverage from joint practice number 1. Kevin Stefanski from the podium on Saturday. Let's have a listen.
Okay, injury front. Unfortunately, Jacob Phillips is going to be out for the season with a torn pec that's going to require surgery. So very, very disappointed for the young man. I know he's battled injuries, but he's got a very strong will. So I know he will bounce back from this. With the other injuries, we have some guys that are day-to-day that we'll learn more about as these days go on and that type of thing. But like we talked about last night, thought some really, really good things happened in that game for us to teach off of offense, defense, and special teams. I thought there was a bunch of different situations that we were in and different things come up when you're playing different schemes for us to teach and for us to talk through. So that was really valuable stuff. And we'll get the team in here tomorrow, get them, we'll meet on that film. We'll get a workout. Then we're jumping on an airplane, heading to Philadelphia, practice versus the Eagles a couple times next week as we go into that game Thursday night. But with that, I'll take any questions.
All right, first we'll go to Tom Withers.
Thanks, Kevin. Sorry to hear about Jacob. Did you see exactly what happened? What kind of play that was?
I did not.
Gotcha. Hey, as far as Cade, and we talked to you a little bit about that last night. From your standpoint, or I know there's a lot of mechanisms that go into making a kick, snap, hold, all that timing. Does everything else seem to be working okay? I mean, is there any kind of common thread here to these couple of misses? And I know it's a small sample size.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's a common thread, Tom. I think it's, to your point, it's a small sample size, going to continue to work. Cade's working very hard, just like the rest of our team is. I think it's, preseason football for all of us. None of us are ready to play or coach in that first game just yet, so we're working through it.
All right, next we'll go to Scott.
Hey, Kevin, real quick on Jacob, is it the same arm as last year?
It's not.
It's not. Okay. And just how hard is it when you see a guy go through the string of injuries like he has?
That's the worst. It's the worst part of this game. Seeing guys get injured, it's just, and especially you see them, how hard they work. So it hurts. I hurt for Jacob and this is why we're teammates and why we support each other. But yeah, worst part of the game.
All right, next we'll go to Tony.
I wanted to ask you, I know you coaches try to conceal things in their offense this time of year. And we who are at practice see Elijah Moore all over the place anyway. Did you not feel that was worth concealing, the plays, the handoff to him and the run of the pass pattern? I mean,
yeah, to that point, Tony, I'm sure it's been, well reported that we want to use the kid in a bunch of different ways. Mm-hmm. Teams know that we'll hand it to him, that we'll throw it to him. As there's no shortage of plays. There's 1,000 things you can do with versatile football players. So to think that, you're giving your opponent part of your offense, I mean, you hold plenty of stuff. So what you show in games is in these preseason games is really should be the tip of the iceberg.
All right, next we'll go to Ashley.
Hey, Kevin, just to go back to Cade here, I know he's talked about like the mental part and working through that. Just how have you guys seen him handle that part of being in the NFL?
Yeah, I think Cade's got the makeup for that role. As you know, he works very hard at his craft. It's also part of being a player in the NFL, and certainly part of being a kicker in the NFL is you got to bounce back from a miss. And I think he did that in the game last night. So really, that's what I expect from all of our guys.
All right, next we'll go to Chris.
Hey, Kevin, wanted to ask you about Nick Harris a little bit and just what you've seen from him and specifically, the mental and emotional growth you've seen out of him, coming back from that injury.
Yeah, Nick is he's a great teammate. He pushes guys, he supports guys. He's another guy, you talk about injuries, that has bounced back and worked really, really hard to put himself where he is right now. He's great in our meeting room. He's a younger player, but he does everything the right way. I think he's a great person for our young players to look up to see a guy that really works on his craft. But he's a guy that is plays a really important role for us.
All right, next we'll go to Dan.
Hey, Kevin, I want to go back to Elijah and sort of the different ways you use him. You were in Minnesota when Percy Harvin was there. Do you kind of go back to those days? Is there some influence there with how, you guys use Percy, with how you want to use a guy like Elijah a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I was with Percy. Coach Musgrave was with Percy. Kevin Rogers was Percy. We had Cordero Patterson in Minnesota as well. So really, it just speaks to versatility. I mean, AVP had Randall Cobb. When you have guys, it's the classic, the more you can do. And I think for us, we're early on in being around Elijah. So what is fun is there's no shortage of what he can do, I think physically, but also just mentally. You can put a lot on his plate. So that's the fun part for us in trying to just make ourselves difficult to defend from the defense.
All right, next we'll go back to Scott.
Hey, Kevin, I want to ask you about a couple defensive guys. We haven't asked you about Shelby Harris. What was attractive about him, and where do you think he fits from a role perspective, given you think he spent a lot of time in a 3-4?
Yeah, productive football player, has been very disruptive in his career. I've gone against him. Has had an interesting career. Really started out, didn't play a ton early in his career, but has really come on. Played very, very meaningful snaps and good snaps for a bunch of good defenses. So we'll see where he fits. We just got him in the building, getting him around our guys. Certainly know that he has the ability to play in our scheme, but really a productive veteran.
All right, and we'll go back to Tony.
Yeah, but it looked like Josh Dobbs was pressured a lot, took some hits in his time on the field. Have you reviewed the performance of the second team offensive line, and how did they do?
Yeah, I thought protection really was pretty good all night, Tony, and especially early. They have some guys that can really rush the passer, so I thought the guys did a nice job. Never perfect. We definitely gotten some empty sets and really challenged the offensive line at times, and we won our fair share. They got theirs. But I thought the quarterbacks did a really nice job of navigating some pockets and moving forward and making plays with their feet.
Okay.
All right, and we'll go back to Dan.
I wanted to ask about David Bell, too. He had a nice night last night. What have you sort of seen out of him in year two, and kind of how he's adjusted to playing in the slot over the last couple of years?
Yeah, a very, very dependable player. Made plays last night. I thought had a really nice route, especially in that 2-minute drive to get out of bounds. And then I don't know if it was on that play, but had another catch, and you see him picking up the ball and running it right to the middle of the field because it's a 2-minute drive, and he's as he's taught, he's doing exactly what he's taught to do, is get the ball back to the middle so we can snap it. So you just see a very smart, heady football player, good hands, made play down there on the goal line versus max pressure. Great throw by Dorian, great catch by him.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll go back to Tom.
Thanks, Kevin. Hickman has flashed a little bit. Can you give us your impressions on him so far?
Yeah, Ronnie, like really a lot of these rookies, Tom, it's an impressive rookie class from a intelligence standpoint, and Ronnie certainly fits in that group, and knowing where to go and what to do, and just the ability. You can't do your job if you don't know your job, and he's a young man that really works hard at knowing what to do, so that puts himself in position, and I think he's got really good ball skills, and that was evident last night.
All right, we'll go back to Tony.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Kevin, your first interview in Greenbrier, you kind of outlined your play time in general for these 4 games, and the Philly game, you weren't expecting to play any starters. Does that hold true? And I got another question too.
Yeah, well, that's our plan, Tony. We'll use these practices to get the 1s and 2s, a lot of reps, and then it'll be primarily backups in the game Thursday night. Will the format be the same as last year, or have you and Nick changed things up somewhat? Yeah, it's really the host is in charge of putting the structure together, so to speak, and the practice plan. So we're the guests. We show up and do what we're told. But Nick and that whole organization are great to work with. I thought we got a ton of really good work done last season when they came here. So we're looking forward to doing the same this season when we go there.
All right, and we'll go back to Scott.
Yeah, I mean, are there any specific things you're looking to get out of those joint practices, or that you saw last year in them and you thought these things were very valuable?
Yeah, I think for us the big thing is going against a different scheme. Sean Desai is their defense coordinator, comes from the Vic Fangio family of defense. So that's really good for us to get some reps in that, because it presents different issues from a coverage standpoint and certainly from a front standpoint. So that's helpful. And then that offense versus our defense. I mean, you get tested with a great quarterback, some really, really unbelievable outside players, a big offensive line. So it really is a good matchup for us to go against from a schematic and just a really good football team. This is a Super Bowl runner-up that we're going against.
Thanks.
All right, and last one from Dan.
Yeah, I just wanted to check on something with Elijah. We know he got the x-rays yesterday on the ribs and they came back negative. Is he good to go this week in those practices?
Yeah, I think we'll see. I'd call him day to day. I'm hopeful, but I want to get there before I can make that comment.
All right, good stuff from Coach there. To celebrate the 18th Cleveland Brown be inducted into the Hall of Fame, Tide Cleaners has an incredible offer. Enjoy $8 off any order of 18 or more. Just mention Browns at the drop-off. Tide Cleaners is your one-stop shop for all your dry cleaning and laundry service needs. Visit TideCleaners.com to find the location nearest you. Some exclusions may apply. Lots more to get to from this one, including some more thoughts from the game on Friday. We'll go around the league as well. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Lawyers, serious injuries, call 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case for you. Elk and Elk's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. We talked a lot about the offense, talked about Cade and the stuff on Friday. Have not had a lot of chance to time to talk about what we saw defensively, Z. You did mention JOK and some of the big guys up front, keeping guys off of him and his ability to fly. What else stood out to you defensively from Friday?
Yeah, well, let's just start with the defensive front that started the game. Three-quarters of your starters, or actually, yeah, three-quarters of your starters, and we'll count Obo Okoronkwo as a starter because he's going to be playing a ton, but your three new guys without Shelby Harris. He didn't play in this game after just getting signed that week, but Dalvin Tomlinson, Zadarius Smith, Obo Okoronkwo. Obo was great, 4 tackles, 2 pressures. He only played 16 snaps or. I thought that very first play, you saw his ability to hold up at the line. You see his speed to the quarterback. He looked great. Dalvin Tomlinson didn't do anything that showed up in the stat sheet per se, but when you watch the tape, his ability to eat space and to get push was helpful not only to the other pass rushers but also to the linebackers. JOK, to the safeties. Juan Thornhill was flying around as well. And then Zadarius Smith. That was Andrew Wiley. Andrew Wiley was the starting right tackle for the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. So this wasn't just some jabroni right tackle. They signed him 3 years, $24 million. They gave him a nice deal. And Zadarius Smith on consecutive rushes dominated him to the point that he was going to get a safety, and Wiley basically just kind of held him and threw him out of the way, which led to a safety anyway. But Zadarius Smith, the power, the speed to power, just the dominance he showed was great to see. So I loved that. I think from second levels on, I thought Maurice Hurst had a great day. Led the team with 3 pressures in this one. Togiai had half of a sack, so kind of that defensive tackle battle. And you're starting to wonder, with Shelby Harrison, now we're back to 3 definites. I thought the way they restructured Jordan Elliott's contract, that kind of put him on that definite list, but I think he's in a competition right now with Tommy Togiai, and I think he is in a competition with Maurice Hurst perhaps for that 4th and final spot in that defensive tackle room. So something to keep an eye on there.
Very good. Yeah, we kind of wondered if that room got tight, man. It got really, really tight. There was I want to talk to you about Ronnie Hickman as well. I mean, we talked so much about the great players on offense, the former Buckeyes and Whippler and Jones, but Hickman, I mean, for a guy, these are fighting for dear life roster spots, man. 2 picks in a game, that's attention getter stuff.
Yeah, when he comes in, has the 2 picks, and he's in a battle with DeAnthony Bell for that final safety spot, and, they really wanted to get a look at him. When I asked, kind of before the game, doing my rounds, who are some people you guys really wanted to see today, Maurice Hurst's name came up quite a bit, and then so did Ronnie Hickman's. And for Ronnie Hickman, this was all you could have hoped to do in a game there. And so you get the first interception, great ball skills, make the catch through contact, tracked it well, and that saved. They were going down. He caught that just outside of our goal line, and that ended the half. So that took points off the board. Then the next interception, they are running a dig, which is a deep in-breaking route in front of him. He's playing single high safety. He sees that, breaks before the ball is even thrown, makes the break, gets to the ball before the receiver, so he doesn't even make contact with them, and picks up. That was a big time free safety play. Also had a team high 5 tackles, 2 passes defensed, the 2 picks. I mean, it was impressive. Now, there is still work. Everything's not perfect. He was a step late on that touchdown to Dotson in the first half. But all in all, a very impressive performance. And he just shows, that he's got maybe athletic gifts that some of the other guys don't have. Now, you know this better than I do, Bo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that at Ohio State, kind of the knock on him was he was capable of doing these incredible things, but the consistency was the issue, which is probably why, he goes undrafted.
Yeah, true. The other thing that happened at that time is they had 3 different secondary operations when he was there. So they basically had 3 different coordinators during the time that he was there on the defensive side of the ball. So perhaps that led to some of those inconsistencies. But, yeah, it was just a consistent play time in and time out that you were just kind of waiting for on him. But every other box was certainly checked. And, yeah, that makes some sense that would be it. And that's how you end up not being drafted and the rest of those things happen. Yeah, he's a top 100 player out of high school. He's a 4-star kid, top 100 player in the country out of high school. Was somebody who played a lot. So yeah, I mean, I think all of those things for him though, like as we're going through this, we talked about the loss of Jacob Phillips. Like now all of a sudden, just kind of the breakdown defensively, like it might be a little bit different than it was a week ago when we were having this conversation. We brought in Shelby Harris from a week ago. Now all of a sudden, Jacob Phillips is not someone that has to be considered. So there's just some different things at play here than there was a week ago. This thing is ever evolving.
It is, and I thought Hickman really helped himself in that battle with D'Anthony Bell, and I think if he can, have a good week here in Philadelphia, that could go a long way. I think he is very talented, and I think that was just on display. That second interception was a big-time play. Some other guys that I think helped themselves on the defensive side of the ball, in the linebacking core, Tony Fields continues to be an excellent run defender. He's got 8 run stops in 2 games. That leads the team. I thought that Cam Mitchell continues to play well, really stuck his nose in there in the run game, and I think that's what you need to show if you're going to play slot in the National Football League. So those are 2 of the other younger guys that I thought played well. And then the 2 undrafted free agents at linebacker, Diabate and Charlie Thomas. Those guys fly around to the ball. They are fun to watch. In the Washington game, Diabate was our second highest graded defender at Pro Football Focus, had the tackle, had the pass breakup that he should have maybe picked off and taken to the house.
Yeah.
And he also had a quarterback hit. Good blitzer. I mean, in college, he had 5 sacks at Utah last year. So he is a guy, for an off-ball linebacker, who can get to the quarterback, and I think that was fully on display. So very encouraging stuff, I think, from our young guys on the defensive side of the ball, and this is going to be a big week for them. But for Ronnie Hickman, that was one of the positions that we said was a battle before camp. It remains a battle, and I think Hickman certainly helped himself in that role.
All right, you'll hear from some of our guys coming up next. Final hour. Also, set for these big practices against the Eagles over in Philly, which is where our guys are. You have that to look forward to, which is nice. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Recycling leader in Cleveland, family-owned and operated company. That's how you know that they're going to take care of your waste responsibly, whether you're a resident or a business. Learn more by visiting rumpke.com. Let's hear from some of our guys from Friday night. Chronologically, this shows Za'Darius first, but I'm going to put that at the bottom since we'll get to him on the joint practice in a second. We talked a lot about DeJuan Jones. He has had a tremendous first couple of weeks of his NFL career. He was asked how the game speed is different. Here's what he had to say.
I wouldn't say gas, just probably wasn't used to the speed of the game. And, I just knew I was going to figure it out eventually, Just seeing the guys go fast, the game getting faster as it goes, I feel like I just had to do it upon myself just to get better, honestly.
And here he is on his pass protection, as Z alluded to, just one pressure so far.
I'm big on my pass pro, and so, staying square is one of my major things. And, I just want to make sure I keep harping myself on that, and he's been harping me on that. And I think this thing I can never stop working on.
This thing could look like a theft by the time all said and done with him.
Yeah, I mean, Lance Zierlein, who, is regarded as one of the better offensive line analysts in the draft process, had a first-round grade on him, thought he reminded him of Trent Brown. So the reason he didn't go that early is as you alluded to earlier. He is that kind of a talent, and I think when you give that kind of mountain of clay to somebody like Bill Callahan with Scott Peters, and they buy in, that's the thing. He's bought in. He's putting in the work to get the most out of his talent, and his talent is immense. So if he does that, this is going to be a very, very good thing for the Cleveland Browns and for DeJuan Jones. And we're seeing that right now early on in his career. So now what the next evolution is, does he get a few looks this week against, elite pass rushers? Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Hassan Reddick. Do we give him some work and see, let's see in a practice setting how he responds against some better talent. And that will, I think, be very illuminating for him and for all of us. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if he does get some of that work. I'd like to see it, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought of it in this sense, but I'm curious if that happens tonight. Really should go back and see how he performed against Georgia, see how he performed against Michigan at the end of the season the last 2 years, because you would have played at the college level at least, not in terms of best pass rushers in pro, but they would have played against some of the best pass rushers in college football when he was at Ohio State the last 2 years towards the end of the season. He would have had chances to go against Hutchinson when he was, 2 years ago, and obviously last year would have gone up against that Georgia team. So my guess is that he's ready for it. I think there's a lot to be impressed with how he has started. We spent a lot of time talking about Deshaun Watson, his first preseason duty. He was asked quite a few questions. Let's start with if he was rusty.
No, I'm not thinking about no rust. I mean, that was last year. I missed ball. I played 6 games last year. I had a full off season, so I'm not thinking about no rust. I'm not using no excuses for no rust or anything like that. I got to be ready for this moment, and I'm going to be ready whenever that time is called for September 10th here in the Dog Pound, and I'm going to be ready to go. We all will be. So all that rust and all the other stuff, that's left in 2022. I'm focused on 2023 and making sure that I'm ready for September 10th.
You and I talk about it all the time about how we just, in a way, we don't want to rush away summer, but at the same time, let's just get to September 10th. The only person who wants that more than us is Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, and I think it was good for him to get out there, feel the speed of the game. That was against the defensive front, by the way. They were all out there. Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne. So you want to get a good look. You want a real look. That's as real a look as you're going to get up front in the NFL, and that's good preparation for what he's going to get here in a controlled environment where he's not going to be hit.
Yeah, you want to stack. How good are we? You're going to that defensive line from Washington on Friday and this Eagles one. You saw Jalen Carter in his first snap.
I did not. What was it? Dominant
sack.
Yeah.
Yep. Swim move.
They're loaded.
Sack. Yeah. Jalen Carter was he's as sure as anything in last year's draft. He just fell for obvious reasons off the field, but he was the surest thing in the draft in terms of the talent that was going to be an absolute lock. Watson was asked how comfortable he is in the offense this year. Here's what he had to say.
Way better than last year. There was so much going on last year, and just trying to play catch up and get to know everyone and new system and everything. But, having a full off season and being able to lock in with the guys and run the first team offense all the way through, It's definitely been a help for myself and the confidence to get ready for this season.
And finally, DeJuan was asked how far the Browns can go this season. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, that's the plan. Everyone is giving me the keys, and they are following my lead. So as far as I go, this offense go and this team go, and the energy, the plays to really just controlling and leading this team is going to go as far as myself. So I got to make sure I'm prepared each and every moment, each and every opportunity, and I just got to go out there and do what I do and just be myself.
We've talked going back to minicamp and through the start of training camp Z and how great he's looked, consistently great, practice after practice after practice. What you'll see tonight and tomorrow, that you're going to have a pretty good idea where we are and where he is specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's right. I mean, at the end of the day, we've made a lot of moves so we can win games in a variety of ways, but the ultimate path this team takes, the pinnacle of this team's success in 2023 is going to be linked to the play of Deshaun Watson. It's a quarterback league. That's just the bottom line. That is true of every team. They can say about their starting quarterback. But Deshaun Watson has done it at a very high level in the past. And I kind of like the talk that I'm hearing, around our organization from the very, very top and from the head coach and from the quarterback himself is people say, oh, can he get back to 2020? He's like, I want to be better than that. That wasn't the peak of my career. And so if that happens, this team has incredible upside. I think he looks good. I think he looks comfortable. His ball placement's good, been good all camp. You can see how comfortable he's in the pocket. He can extend some drives with his legs. Note what we didn't really get to see, what we'll get a lot more opportunity to see here is, just pocket passing. There was some pressure that he had to get out and run away from and make plays with his legs, but that's something that we're more interested in seeing, right? It's the pocket passing. That's going to be the real key over the course of the season.
Yeah. You were going to be under duress a little bit against Washington. You'll be under duress the next couple of days, from time to time against Philly. Like they're two of the 5 best lines in the sport.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Very more than
anything else you want to get to offensively from the scrimmage, defensively? Anything else pop into mind that you want to bring attention to?
No, I think we'll get into the scrimmage a little later on. I just think overall what you saw was a very crisp operation. It was in many ways a carryover of a lot of things we've been seeing this offseason. Deshaun looking good. Elijah Moore being involved. It didn't work out because we missed a block and they were able to chase down David Njoku on that screen, but getting the Chief the ball in space. I like the design of the play. It's just, it takes all 11 for a successful play. And by the way, if you get that block on the backside and Tuhill isn't able to chase him down, that's a big gain. There were 2 blockers out in front with 2 defenders. And so you felt pretty good about how that play was setting up. We still haven't seen Nick Chubb. We haven't seen that stuff.
I don't need to.
Don't need to either. And then defensively, just those new additions looking so good. And the change in, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who you want to become that star for you at the second level. I think you saw a lot of indications of all of those things potentially being able to happen as this football team has really retooled the front of its defense and added some pieces as well on the back end. But that front, Za'Darius, Dalvin, Obo, that just jumped out in their brief appearances, and that's without Miles and without Shelby Harris.
Yeah, without two-fifths of the people who will be in the middle of that a lot of the time. I do think that this defense, has a chance to be really special. There's a difference between good and special. And to me, to get to special, either JOK or Grant Delpit needs to take that step to be like what we all kind of think they can be. If one of those two can become like Pro Bowl caliber players, then this defense can go from being a very good because the corners are going to be there. They're as good as it gets. The D-line's as good as it gets. But either somebody in that linebacker core, and to me the most likely seem to be JOK and Delpit, if one of those two can go be a Pro Bowl player, then all of a sudden you can have a special defense.
Yes, agreed. Because then you'll have it at all 3 levels. You're going to have, certainly Pro Bowlers on that defensive line. You've got 2 of them already. You're going to have – you got Pro Bowlers in the secondary at the quarterback position, and you want – if you can get one at safety, you can get one at linebacker, all of a sudden you're as dynamic as it can be. But I think this D, much like Philly's D, we know what Chauncey Gardner-Johnson did with the interceptions. He's moved on. We know about Slay and Bradbury. But what made that D go and what was the talk of that D was its defensive front and that pass rush. And we have a chance to get into that kind of, conversation where we've got a lot of guys who can get after it from a lot of places. And don't sleep on Obo Okoronkwo. I think his numbers at the end of the year could be very, very good, given the way that we're going to kind of line things up here with Za'Darius and Miles and Dalvin and Obo and Shelby Harris. I think you could see those 5 out there in pass rushing situations, and that's going to be a lot of fun.
Do you think he was down when Emerson ripped it?
No.
We didn't talk about that.
That was way premature.
I was at a function.
Way premature.
I was watching on a TV at a function, and I saw the play in real time, and he scored, and then I went back and I'm like, how did we get the ball back? And my buddy's like, oh, they ruled him down. And then I never saw the replay until the next day, and I'm like, in real time, this had to be absurd.
He wasn't down. They ruled that his forward progress had been stopped. Basically, they blew it. And
they blew it, boy.
I mean, you blew it, boy. Yeah, that was even in slow motion. When we rewatched it in the booth, it happened in an instant.
Yeah.
It was an outrageous call. That was MJ doing exactly what he did down in Jacksonville, and ripping it out and taking it to the house. I think, he got hosed there. That was a pick, but he's much more interested in getting those picks come the regular season.
Yeah, you hate to I hate to throw too much on him, but he looks like he's ready to really go.
Yes, I would think that is correct.
Yeah, he feels like there's a lot of confidence in the young man. Just the way he's practicing, the way he's playing, like there's a lot of juice and self-belief in terms of what he thinks he's capable of this year. The Cleveland Browns 2023 schedule is here. Get your single game tickets now for all the great matchups at Cleveland Browns Stadium. Visit clevelandbrowns.com/tickets to purchase yours today. We will go around the league. Lots of news around the league, including a kind of a shocking story for a former Raven. We will get to that story coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. The Browns are starting a new podcast, but it's not just any podcast. It's a player-led podcast called Dogs Only. You'll hear from your favorite Browns players that rehash old memories, talk about their hobbies, what makes them tick. Anything goes. The first episode drops today, featuring the Florida boys, Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, Anthony Walker Jr., and assistant GM Glenn Cook. It's absolute fire, I am told. Dogs Only airs during the preseason, so enjoy this limited edition show while it's out. Catch Dogs Only on your favorite podcast platform and let us know what you think.
So
Literal
that's what the
fire.
kids would say. Yeah, it means it's good. It's lit, baby.
Does it got that Riz, yo?
It's got that Riz, yeah.
That's what he's dropping on me now.
Big R Riz.
But lots of big R Riz talk. You got to cap that, Dad. Cap that. I mean,
no cap.
Cop that. Cop that, Dad. You got to cop that.
You got to cop that. Yeah,
cop that.
Get it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. I know what a lot of this stuff does, and what I like to do is just pretend I don't. So, like, if they say you got to cop that, Dad, I'm like, there's no police around. What are you talking about? I don't see a police.
Come on, Dad.
Oh, come on. You don't know? You don't know what that means? It's amazing. Amazing. Had my revenge yesterday. We had the they go to school on Wednesday, so we had like the final summer foursome with the boys, if you will, yesterday afternoon.
Yeah.
You got to have a foursome with the boys if you want to live a little bit. And
yeah.
You're out here trying to raise alphas. So we're out there playing, and so what I would do is every time they would like walking down a fairway, or whatever, I would whisper to them. I'd be like, "You're all dead men walking. You're back in school on Wednesday. It's all over.
It's all over for you.
It's all over. You got to go back."
Bootsy hated that.
Oh, they were so upset. So upset. Yeah, they did not like that in any way, shape, or form. But
By the way, quick question.
Yeah.
Is FIFA gone the way of the dinosaur?
It's gone. Yeah. Vaporized. I think because football happened.
Man City is never going to get its chance. Sad.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you'd smoke him now. Like, he hasn't played in like 3 weeks. And it all coincided with football. Once football happened, because we're 5 days a week. So,
man,
the way that it works now is like football starts like we leave around 5. We get home like 7:30, 7:40, and then then you're trying to eat quickly, and then that's your day. You're done. So there's no.
And Madden's dropping soon. They'll be onto that. Yeah, it's over for FIFA.
I don't know. I'm curious to see if they. The last couple of Maddens didn't take, but I've heard that didn't we talk to the guy like this one's supposed to be? Oh, we talked to Shook, and he was like he got some sort of a pre-version of it and said that it was great. So, Josh Allen on the cover.
Yep.
That was a big conversation at football practice last week. Was they're kind of sick of quarterbacks on the cover of Madden?
Kids are?
Yeah, they're like, can we get?
Who do they want?
Justin Jefferson.
Odell Beckham was on the cover. Gronk was on the cover.
It's been a minute, though, right?
Peyton Hillis
was, that was a long time ago. I'd say it's been, you've had recently.
Gronk, probably.
You had this one will be Allen. Last year was John Madden.
And it was Mahomes and Brady.
And Mahomes. Then Mahomes and Brady for the GOAT edition. Before that was Lamar Jackson. And I think before that was maybe Gronk and then Odell, maybe.
Okay, so it's been a little minute since we.
Odell was on the cover the 1 year for when he was still with the Giants, so that would have been like
16, 17,
16, 17. Yeah.
Was Adrian Peterson on a cover?
I think
could have been.
Sean Alexander.
Yep.
Or
Sean Alexander. Yep.
Yeah,
that's like
Sean Alexander
20
was on
years
the cover.
ago, though. Like those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the kids were like that was a big conversation where they wanted to see some position players on the cover. And of course, Nick Chubb and Miles and all those got brought up too, but the consensus was Justin Jefferson has got a lot of juice with the kids.
Justin Jefferson's the coolest cat around, and he's the consensus best receiver in the league.
Yeah. In a group that's pretty talented across the board. What did you make of this Michael Oher story? So folks, if you're not seeing this dropped within the last hour.
All right, so I read it.
Folks have seen The Blind Side.
Yeah.
It was based on a book, The Blind Side, that Sean and Leanne Toohey, wrote about their story with Michael Oher. And then the movie was a big deal. So one part of the movie was they got a couple $100,000 for the rights to the movie, and then they got points on the movie, like 2.5% of the box office of the movie. So the movie
Okay,
made
which
$300
makes
million in the domestic box office. So you can do the math on what that would work for, and then and then it streams and they get residuals from all of that. So Oher today petitioned a court with allegations that the Tuohys never adopted him, instead tricking him into signing a document making them his conservators and enriching themselves. That's the allegation that's made by Oher, who's now like 37 years of age.
Okay, so here's my immediate reactions. One, if this is true, awful. Two, based on everything we feel like we know about the story prior to today, this seems like out of left field, shocking. Three, like this, why is this all happening now? Like
Money.
The Blindside came out a long time ago. That money, all of that happened over a decade ago, right?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah. So like the timing of it seems odd to me. He's, like you said, in his mid-30s. I mean, normally when you adopt somebody, like really the kind of reality of adopting them, and I could be wrong, doesn't that, like, when they become 18, they're adults? Like, yes, you've adopted them, but like then they're adults anyway, right?
The way I understood it
I don't know.
If he were adopted at turning 18, he would have then had control of his own story and finances and all of that. By allegedly tricking him into being his conservators, they would control his financial part of it, is the way I understand it.
If that's right, and we know about conservatorships now with Britney Spears, obviously brought that thing that nobody really knew about to light, I guess I have a hard... Why wasn't this discovered or
a decade
done?
ago?
The timing of it just makes no sense to me.
It does. I agree. I think the timing is certainly odd.
Like he would have known this, or some lawyer would have come and said, "Hey, dude, you should have made all this money." Or his agent. Like, think about it. He was an NFL player. He had agents. He made money in the NFL. Like, some agent would be like, "Dude, where's your movie money?" Well, look, it just seems crazy to me that this is happening now in August of 2023.
So
like,
he wrote his own book about with a buddy of mine, Don Yeager, who used to work for Sports Illustrated. He wrote his own book, and the reason he wrote his own book, so Michael Lewis wrote that one, and then he wrote his own, which was, I think, I Beat the Odds. Yeah, I Beat the Odds from Homelessness to Blindside and Beyond in 2011, and my buddy Don Yeager, I'm pretty sure, was helping with the writing of that. I'm almost certain of it. So that part, and his beef was that there were some differences in the movie to the reality, but I just assume, like, in a movie you're going to take some liberties, dramatic liberties.
Either glamorize or
sure,
right. The highs will be higher, the lows might look lower to drive home the point and the drama and all of that.
Yeah.
But he was involved, if I'm not mistaken, in all of the, like, press for the movie, and
that I can't remember. I can't remember that. I'm sure it feels like
it wasn't. It was never contentious. It was
never.
No, this is not my story. This is BS.
No. It was. There was none of that around it. I mean, he played 110 NFL games.
Yeah, like he had made. That's what I'm saying. He had agents and lawyers and, like, business people and money managers around him at that time for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't understand, like, how if this was truly what it is on paper, and maybe it is, but, like, these people are also very public with their story, and, like, it just...
Yeah, he alleges that, like, they continue to make money off of it. She's like a public speaker, and she's making money off of it. I think the dad is like the one of the voices of the Memphis Grizzlies, or was.
Really?
Yeah, I think he does, like, color commentary on Grizzlies games. I think that's true.
Holy moly!
It just, I mean, when you watch the movie, you feel
Ole Miss like standout athlete.
You feel like that those, Sandra Bullock, tremendous, right?
Yeah.
So it's
all right.
It's
so
just hard to get my head around, but at the same time, like, if it's true, it's horrific. But here's. If The Blind Side just came out,
right,
and then all of a sudden he realized they have all this money and he got none of it, that makes sense to me that then he's like, wait, what's the deal here? Or somebody in his camp at the time, because when the blind side came out, wasn't he already in the league?
Yes. Yeah.
There are people around him whose jobs it would be and whose their own self-interest it would be to discover this and make sure, like, dude, where's your blindside money? We should be investing this in blah, 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 blah. It's just the timing of it. I can't comprehend the timing of it.
Agreed. It's very odd. Yeah, Tui's been a broadcaster with the Grizzlies since 2001. He was a basketball player at Ole Miss. So he's, that was
he's done Westwood One, CBS Radio.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, he owned 115 fast food franchises through the years, and as anyone who's been in that's pretty lucrative business. Taco Bell, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Pizza Hut, Long John Silver's. Now he has 11. He sold the majority in 6 different transactions.
So they've got plenty of dough. It doesn't feel like they would need to do that. He's made, I'm sure, plenty of I guess I just understand where the time and where it's all coming from, why now, and it's not like he didn't have a platform to express his displeasure if it ever existed.
Oh, at any point. Yeah, I mean, he last played in the league in 2016.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's plenty of time to get to the bottom of that. So, odd story. It happened just before we started the program here.
And the thing that's wild about it is if you're like we have on in the room, ESPN's on in the background.
Mm-hmm.
The nuance that exists in our society anymore for something that's just been alleged is gone. So, like right now, it's as if all of this is true, and it very well may be. I just don't know. It just seems the timing of it seems hard for me to understand.
I agree.
That's nothing to do with the veracity of the allegations.
But it's also
timing of it.
You can't just run at this and say this is what happened either.
Right.
And that's what's happening right now in our society. It's like you make an allegation, all of a sudden it's the real truth.
It's the real truth, Bootsy.
Yeah, that's it. What did you make of the story coming out over the weekend that John Lynch wanted Fields and Shanahan wanted Trey Lance? This came after Lance really struggled in their preseason debut.
Maybe he threw a great touchdown.
So I just wonder, like, do you make anything of the timing of, like, it now coming out of Niners camp that Lynch wanted Fields?
So first of all, that kind of stuff doesn't surprise me. All people have different evaluations. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like that he would prefer Fields and Kyle would prefer Lance. That doesn't surprise me at all. It coming
just that
out,
it's coming out.
It coming out is a little bit odd.
Yeah.
And
there's trouble in paradise. Someone's on the hot seat.
Can I just because I read it too? But where did it originate? Can you tell me that?
I couldn't find it. I was trying to track down where it originated from. It's been everywhere today, but I'm not sure exactly where it originated from. So, it went on to say that it was kind of specific. Like it said that what Kyle was interested in was the fact that Fields didn't throw off platform enough.
Yep.
And he was mostly a pocket guy at Ohio State, so that was where his beef was. It is one of the great what-ifs because they've won despite it. They've been one of the best teams despite it. But what the Dolphins got in exchange ends up being Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, and Jalen Waddle.
Well, right. You could have all that. And Justin Fields. So, yeah, no. It obviously becomes – it's a problem, to be sure. I would say that my guess is it's probably one of those things that's like known. People have talked about. It's not a big deal. Like there are plenty of people who come in and out of the organization, that maybe been – I don't bet their scouting department is not exactly the same as it was then. So my guess is that's something that's factual. They obviously had some details about why it happened. But obviously as an organization, they all agreed ultimately to make that decision. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done it.
Yes.
So there is no fracture between Kyle and John Lynch.
No.
So my guess is this is coming out from somebody who maybe worked there that now, let's say, works for another NFC team and wants to just ruffle some feathers, or it came from Justin Fields'
with
camp.
Kyle.
Yeah, right, exactly. Somebody who wants to ruffle some feathers over there, or as the great Gibbe would say, rattle some cages.
Rattle some cages. A couple other quick hitters here. Jonathan Taylor's going to report to camp soon, but he says he won't play unless he's 100%.
What are you doing? You have no leverage.
It's personal between him
and
and
you know what to camp.
Irsay made it personal, and Yeah, it's going to be ugly. That's been you know what, guys? Honestly, really dysfunctional organization since Peyton Manning left.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they fell into luck, literally, but it's been up crazy since Manning left, honestly. Like, they can't see it. They've had a ton of talent through the years and feel like they're close and starts and stops. So, yeah, just not a lot of stability there. The Ravens activating running back. They've activated J.K. Dobbins. I saw him at practice off the PUP list.
Yeah.
So he's a full go over there. Zach Ertz cleared to return from an ACL tear from last season. Jadeveon Clowney visiting with the Jaguars over the weekend. And so there you go. A couple of other things. The momentum I'm starting to hear from Cincinnati is that Burrow will be ready for the opener. He threw without a leg sleeve in the warm-up of their preseason game on Friday and was thrown at 50 yards downfield without much hesitation, and he was at practice today. Not practicing, but just in shorts, no brace on his calf and throwing the ball. So it looks like he's matriculating towards being there for the opener, which is what I want.
I always thought he was going to play in week 1 anyway. You wouldn't complain if it happened, but in those warm-ups that they showed, that was not his normal throwing motion.
No, I think he was aware of the leg. He was definitely compensated.
He was not pushing off his back leg
at
all.
None. No. I'm sure they've told him not to. Like,
right.
You can throw, but we're not going to do – we're not how we normally do at all. It's interesting you brought up the Lance, like preseason can be deceiving, right? So that same thing happened but different, same but different with Justin Fields. So Fields went 3 for 3 for 129 and 2 touchdowns in the Bears.
Yeah.
He had 2 drives. Neither one of his throws that went for touchdowns did the ball travel across the line of scrimmage.
That's right. Yeah.
Like, I'm as big a field guy as you're going to find. I believe in him. I think the Niners, I would have loved for them to have him. I think he would have thrived there. I think they would, especially with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. My God. But, like, the notion that was some sort of greatness, not at all. That's what could happen in preseason.
It shows why it was smart for them to get DJ Moore. You get a real wide receiver, and in a game break, and Khalil Herbert has been kind of waiting in the wings, waiting for his opportunity with David Montgomery gone, and he had a nice catch and run there. So there definitely some talent on that team, and yeah, that's not – if you looked at it, you're probably like, oh, my God, he threw 2 50-yard dots. No, he threw 2 screens.
2 screens is what it amounted to. All right, so there you go around the league. What do we expect from the practices tonight, tomorrow night? We'll get you set for those coming up next. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Catch the Browns preview show tonight at 7. Ken and Gerard on the University Hospital's Cleveland Browns Radio Network. Listen in for complete coverage from joint practice number 1, which will be tonight at 5 o'clock in the city of brotherly love. Have you guys done anything sightseeing yet in Philly? What have you done? Taken anything in?
No.
Rocky
No.
steps?
Very cool
I
bars.
woke up, I worked out, and then we had the
Very
show.
cool bar. Are
I
you
did some
walking
work.
distance from like the museums and the stuff that
It's
you
like a
want to see, the
30-minute
historical
walk.
stuff?
I don't know. I'm looking at something over here through my window that looks like it could be.
You could
something.
bird it. Do they have birds?
That's not it.
What is that?
That's not any of the stuff that you're looking for.
I don't know.
It's like,
Is it Thursday yet?
no.
No, it's Monday.
I came here a few years ago with the kids for the Royal Rumble, and we did all the Independence Hall, all of it.
Did you go see Rocky?
Oh, maybe we are close to Independence Hall.
Oh, yeah. Kind of looks like something over there.
Yeah, you
Isn't
could
it
be
William
right about
Penn
that.
on the top of that thing?
No.
No, this is not on what we can see. But, yeah, it must be in this little area over here where all this stuff is. It says only half hour. Somebody told me earlier today it's a 30-minute walk. That's not 30 minutes.
Who's walking anywhere in 30 minutes? It's 90 degrees right now.
It's a 15-minute walk, so 30-minute round trip, I guess. Yikes. Yeah, so I guess we are close. That's got to be at that area where all those trees are. So we did that sightseeing stuff when I was here with the kids. It's great. And I'm a big colonial American history buff, as you know. So it's great to kind of walk and what? Why is that funny? It's true.
It's this thing.
I know,
yeah.
but you said, what was the one that I called you out for?
The
Pac-12
aficionado that I am. Doesn't exist anymore.
Get out of here.
It's true, Gibbe. R.I.P. the Pac-12. I remember Pac-10, the glory days. But no, Philly's a good town.
I've never been.
Hey, are you going to see B. Westbrook?
Yeah, he's coming today. He's going to be at practice today. We might break bread with him later, me and the Hoff.
So the William Penn statue is located atop Philadelphia City Hall. It was installed in 1894. For 90 years, an unwritten gentleman's agreement forbid any building in the city from rising above the hat on the Penn statue. But that agreement ended in 1985, and then away you go. But for that long,
skyscrapers.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's how, like D.C. is, right? Nothing can be taller.
Nothing high, D.C.
Yeah, than the Capitol.
Can't have it. Can't have it.
No.
When you order a cheesesteak over there, does it come with whiz naturally, or do they do provolone? It's always curious about that.
The ones where you go to like the places like Geno's and all that. That's a whiz. That's whiz central. I'm not a whiz guy.
Coach,
I always
like
think
provolone.
it's interesting though, like because in my head when I think of Philly cheesesteak, it's always with whiz. But anytime you get it anywhere else in the world, it's with provolone.
Yes, that's right. And it's not only is it with whiz, it's like that meat that's like so fine, it's like dust.
Steakums.
It's like steak dust. Yeah, I like a nice flank steak
steak.
chopped up with a little pepper,
What would
onion,
be?
mushroom.
Ask Stefanski that. Like, where would be? Because I think I've tried, and he gave like a bunch of answers. Like, what would be the? Where do Philly people go have the cheesesteak?
I have reached out
I don't
to
think
him.
they go to
I
those
saw
places.
him at lunch, and he said, Gibbs, I will email you a list of 3 or 4 places, from pizza to cheese to.
That's what I want. That's the list
joints.
I want.
I go, where am I going here?
Yeah, you
I want
tell me
his
where
pizza
you would go.
recommendations because I like his style of pizza.
How's he like it?
the
Is he
same
New York style, or what's he like?
Yeah, like Il Rione. That place
Yeah.
that's a tasty place.
All right, very good. So we'll get that. I look forward to that list with the correct establishments.
What are you looking forward to seeing today?
Yeah, there you go, Gibby. Get us back on.
Well,
I want to see
I'm
this.
getting there, Gibby. Like I'm driving the thing here. We got some time here. We got
He's
5
a big
minutes
B.
plus.
We got 5 minutes.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Gibby,
All
Z, what are you looking for today?
Number one, I'm looking for us to get off this bus with the same confidence that I saw the Eagles get off the bus with last year.
boy, did
So
they.
that's first and foremost. Like I want to see this is a team that has enough dudes on it that we shouldn't be afraid of anybody. We should come off there saying we're going to go on this field, and you know what? You won the NFC. This isn't the NFC. We're going to kick your butts, and then I want to see us back that up. I want us to see us match them at the point of attack on both sides of the ball. I want to see DeJuan looking good, but more than anything, I want to see this team have the swagger and then back it up, because if it comes out of this, and it should be back and forth, they're going to make some plays. We should make some plays, both sides of the ball. But if we come out of there feeling like, all right, this is absolutely the type and brand of football and the quality of football that we're going to be playing all year, you know that this team has made a big improvement year over year. To me, this is a measuring stick. We had the opportunity to have these joint practices last year with the Eagles. We saw what that looked like. And, it wasn't terrible last year, but you knew that they were a cut above. And then they got better as the season went on, because I think Jalen Hurts, as he continued to gain confidence, he got better. This team now, they should not be a cut above us. You put our roster up against theirs. Phillies may have the best roster in the NFL. We're right there with them. Yep. We're right there at all the key positions. So, we have got to show that.
Yeah, I think it was most noticeable last year in the two fronts, obviously. I mean, they were just so physical. My God, I'll never forget seeing Jordan Davis walk off and just went, that dude's in the two deep. He's not even the dude. They had so much depth of talent on the defensive interior, and they rode it all the way to the Super Bowl. So
they did.
And I know you'll know.
Our offensive line, I'm not worried about. I think the biggest difference is going to be in their ability to just manhandle our defensive line. I think that's over with. It was Miles, fighting a lot by himself. Clowney still putting some good stuff, but in the interior, from Taven Bryan and Jordan Elliott, and Taven Bryan had 3 sacks last year. He did fine. But to go from those guys to Dalvin and Shelby Harris, and to go to the power of Zadarius Smith, and then in our next wave be able to bring in Obo, this is we remade this front. And I think it had a lot to do with, number one, getting Miles help, but number two, I think it had a lot to do with those joint practices. And, he worked in Philly. He understands the philosophy. He understands what Howie Roseman has put together and why they are what they are. And I think Aaron Newberry went out to address that. And this is going to be the first opportunity to really see that. We saw it against the Commanders. There's no doubt. Zadarius, you're like, okay, dude, no doubt about it. Yeah. But now we get a chance to see this against, the Philadelphia Eagles, the NFC champions.
Yeah, going to be fun. Going to be fun tonight at practice. They'll do it tonight. They'll do it again on Tuesday. We'll have a full breakdown of it all for you coming up tomorrow on the program. Between now and then, the next level is coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.